If I have a chance of listening to 1 million radio, I would rather be listening to Maroon times FM. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Maroon Times Radio. The following program is paid for by and sponsored by the Maroon Times Re-Education Platform. As we go through the changes, people are being locked down for the last 3 days due to the COVID. And persons are wondering how they're going to deal with the situation. Many are adjusting to the situation. And some people are very much comfortable in the situation. As for me, I have been experiencing COVID lockdown since the last 24 years. I had to change my work pattern, the way I travel, the way I do everything. Mainly because I've been taking the activist role, standing on the front line between Jamaica and the U.S. genocidal invasion. Right now we are living under a martial law, and most persons are not really cognizant to the fact. Right now I'm speaking here from Three Finger Jack Monument. Yes, of course, and we are standing at the Three Finger Jack Monument protecting his bones. At this Maroon heritage site located inside of St. Thomas, Jamaica. Also, it's been a big deal to talk about the Maroon Chief Curry's protection of his sovereign state. That's kind of something extraordinary inside the news because we have never heard nowhere in this part of the world for the longest while. A sovereign state of rise to protect itself. Of course, they got the right of what is called municipal self-ruling town. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, if you're just joining us, this is yours truly, OG Rastology Francis Maroon Paramount Chief. Introducing more music from the Mother Music Master Track. This is the Maroon Government Monarchical Sovereign State Web Portal. In a matter of minutes, we'll be bringing you more news from the Yankapong Sovereign State in association with Mirigi, M-R-I-G-I, Maroon Receivership Internal Government Investigation Department. Enforcement of investigation of R2P United Nations level. This municipal state indigenous people protection is designed to chase the devil. I know it makes you feel miserable. The upcoming report is entitled Maroon Sovereign B Stung U.S. Genocide Before Jamaica's 2020 Military Environmental Celebration. Stay tuned. Maroon Sovereign B Stung U.S. Genocide Before Jamaica's 2020 Military Environmental Celebration. Welcome to the Aquarian Age of Universal Transformation to Higher Maroon Indigenous People Consciousness of Rastology, our 21st century new philosophy.
Yeah, we live on Anorak TV, as I say, and we all take a careful look at Anorak. Now, this is the part of the
To
mountain,
better understand the true story behind Jamaica's government 2030 Anansiism,
and then this front mountain,
one would need to start with the unspoken 1991 UN intervention and therefore revisiting of 11,900 land treaties, including our now questionable Maroon Treaty.
By those people from way back when. So you can check out the book
Surprisingly,
online as well, Maroon Book of Eulogies.
Our Maroon Treaty was also discovered among world-class examples, exhibiting one of the most outstanding sovereign credibility.
And God bless you all. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share.
This prestigious global acknowledgement by the highest humanitarian court of international world community bears three organic fruit.
Anorak TV, over and out.
1. Perpetuation of historic sovereign treaty. 2. United Nations certification of Jamaica's indigenous people status with mandate to commence new indigenous people sovereign state from St. Thomas in the East to Negril Point.
Please remember to download the favorite Gangonja song
3.
from the EP Three Sides of a Kind, distributed
End
by CD
of
Run.
British colonial monarchical
Spotify,
rule.
for YouTube. Remember, follow me on Twitter and on Facebook.
The UN mandate for Maroon to commence their creation of new indigenous people free sovereign state was supported by the unspoken reality of the two monumental Maroon land lease made to King George II of England, France and Ireland by our sovereign lord, Eligimo Kojo, in the late 1700s,
and the Tango River
had came to a perpetual
as you know,
end.
was formerly known as Black River Road, and the Anorak Mountain.
Based on this now renewed Maroon Treaty status officiated before the ILO Indigenous Peoples Court, the United Nations had given the Queen of England, Jamaican government, only a period of 40 years on September 5th, 1991, totally complete our monarchical rule over Jamaica.
Quick look at the Anorak Mountain, as we will talk
for $2 million, I bet not one of our so-called intellectuals in academia could now tell how the government of Jamaica evolved to a 2030 vision. Let me repeat. For $2 million, I bet not one of our so-called intellectuals in academia could now tell how the government 2030 vision evolved.
Remember to check out my book, which is online, particularly on YouTube. It's called Maroon
Calculate
Book of
from
Eulogy.
September 5th,
Thank you.
1991 to 2030,
Please enjoy.
and the total will be 40
Welcome to
years.
Anorak TV. This is
Just to
Fabian
say
Stennett. I'm live in
goodbye.
Anorak. The rain all come down.
Calculate
So,
this year's
one
date,
time the whole of Anorak when you
2021,
run Anorak.
from the United Nations
I'm going to tell you
recommended
about the
40
biblical city
years.
that was
We
created
will end up
by
with
the
a
people them who come over here from
remainder
Ezekiel time.
of 9
Long before you have
years.
no Columbus and no Taino.
In the
The
meanwhile,
Siboney
neither
people
the
when they're
Jamaican
alive and
government
well.
and or
They
the
were known as the
United
Troglodyte
Nations
Jews, and
had
most of you
not,
think
in the
and see
light
and
of
call
law,
cave
make
in
this
the
very vital
cockpit
and
country
strategic
where the
information
homes of these people, so we
officially
are look for
or
Mount Anorak.
unofficially
Now
available
Miss
to the
Anna did
wider
make a prediction
Jamaican
and she go, they
public.
go look good and she jump off of the rock there and then change the front part of Ranarak to Anorak.
This subversion
You
of the
understand?
Jamaican
In honor of
constitution
Anna who
left us
dead
standing
and jump
at
off
the
of that part of the
crossroads
rock.
of genocide.
No, the back part never did
As a
change.
result, we are walking
See it on
blindly
us, so?
into our very
So that is
own
Anorak
destruction
Mountain,
of
the
global
original
known
Ranrock, which is the back part of Anorak. Alright,
neo-colonialism,
thanks.
secondary slavery. The neo-colonial brand of secondary slavery is expected to last for another 400 years. This mark 400 years of slavery is commonly known in the fundamentals of Rastafarian doctrine, whereby Jamaica is referred to as Egypt, and Rastafarians were in 400 years of colonial enslavement that would end at the now transitory period before the beginning of this new millennium. Many wise mind and truth seekers have long shared the same Zionist viewpoint. No wonder why our dear Bob Marley says that men and people will fight you down when you see Jah light. In this light of global conspiracy, a similar government 2030 Egyptian slavery phenomenon that is expected to also last another 400 years is presently unfolding in over 60 new indigenous people countries, including Jamaica, targeting the robotic chip enslavement to approximately 400 million indigenous people globally. Approximately 30 of these United Nations certified indigenous people new states, including Nicaragua, Brazil, Venezuela, and others, have actually completed the process of moving from one's colonial status to their new free sovereign indigenous people state. No one is saying it was easy to guide this unfolding just the way the United Nations had actually mandated it. Stand up with brave giants and fight for your right. Do not lie to yourselves that the respective leader, stroke prime minister, would be humanitarian enough to sign, stroke ratify UN ILO 169 convention, letting the population loose from their genocidal colonial bungling. What is ironic about this new millennium 2030 Anansiism is that the respective prime minister has been proven to be the most beneficent brother and Nancy among the parliamentarians drinking the blood of uninformed indigenous people. Things are expected to be worse, especially during the rest of the 9 years countdown to complete the total United Nations transitory period of the Queen colonial rule. With this government intention to send the fool a little further, a persuasive and extravagant flagship of sovereignty is constantly being waved in the eyes of the people. But in our case, we are truly in need of a blood and signed sovereign treaty. With the recommended 350 years indigenous people criteria before the United Nations ILO. Now let's not fool ourselves, regardless of your colonial gut feeling. Only one place such ancestral heritage document can be found is in the house of the unconquerable Maroons, and by the extension the rest of the three United Nations Indigenous Peoples Group.
Right, man.
Be very much prepared to diplomatically avoid the floodgate of high-tech political information designed by the 42-plus World Bank conglomerates, illegally exploiting our now very fragile sovereign environment. In the facilitation of overseas invasion, the Jamaican government is bent on telling you the Maroon Treaty had lost its full capacity to again give birth to our new nation-state ambition. But how can a dead Maroon sovereignty rise to sting British colonial Parliament after Parliament was also protected by its supernatural protection of imbalanced media landscape, a brutal police force, and cascading waterfall of British miseducated professors seeking colonial amnesty from poverty at the university, UWI. While some may explain that recent Chief Richard Curry's action was an experiment in the manipulation of cockpit country politics that got out of control, I am more convinced his action was spiritual, leading to the manifestation of Aquarian age, in the sense that the government's hush on the importance and the national responsibility in relation to the extremely poor constitutional acceptance of indigenous people's rights that had been woefully brushed aside for so long suddenly find incubate rebirth. How can this government blindfold the nation from looking at the gleaming realities surrounding the fact it is the very infinite fundamentals of 1738-39 historic Maroon Treaty that gave this country its indigenous status? Many still believe the Queen had owned Jamaica. For the benefit of the doubters, research the Gleaner. The year 2012, there was an unforgettable front-page article entitled, "Give Us Back the Queen." Since then and beyond, the British Crown has been playing a Nancyism with our minds. I am predicting that this Kabbalistic rebirth in the quest to gain our ancestral sovereign resilience to once for all take into serious consideration the remaining 9 years countdown to complete ratification of this our United Nations mandate Indigenous Peoples Law to immediately protect this country. We must not fail. If we do not change this situation now, we would not be able to correct this millennium mishap until the next 400 years. No wonder why the United Nations indicates that all colonialized population should be re-educated before speaking or moving to build a new indigenous peoples community, unless that responsible group has been re-educated from a traditional viewpoint and not again drink the same old colonial wine. As head of the spoken New Indigenous People Maroon Sovereign Monarchical State of Nyankopong, let me forewarn, if you should believe the Anansiism promoted by leaders of the still Jamaican sugar plantation regime propaganda, that the Maroon Treaty have lost its capacity to safely take us out of the hands of British secondary robotic chip slavery, then you must still believe in that the cow really jumped over the moon. Look ya, man. Now make me laugh. Now make me laugh here today. Make me go and protect Three Finger Jack Bones. This has been yours truly, OG Rastology Francis, Maroon Paramount Chief, officiated at United Nations level, protector of the Maroon sovereign state law. I thank you. Based on a very, very poor transmission in some areas, it is recommended that we repeat most of our major and vital program. In a matter of minutes, we'll be going back to the same special report. Maroon sovereign bee stung U.S. genocide before Jamaica's 2030 military environmentalism celebration. Just wondering if anybody really understands what the caption is actually saying. It's saying Maroon sovereign bee. Well, the recent action inside of a compound town seems to attack Parliament in some ways and allow them to respond out of control. So this kind of response, maybe they were expecting to happen somewhere about 2030, but really it happens at 2021. 9 years before the big celebration of the 42 World Bank conglomerates manipulating what was Jamaica, now the new Maroon sovereign state. Maroon sovereign bee stung U.S. genocide before Jamaica's 2030 military environmentalism celebration. Welcome to the Aquarian age of universal transformation to higher Maroon indigenous peoples' consciousness of Rastology. Our 21st century new philosophy. To better understand the true story behind Jamaica's government 2030 Anansiism theory, one would need to start with the unspoken 1991 UN intervention and therefore revisiting of some 11,900 land treaties, including our now questionable Maroon Treaty. Surprisingly, our Maroon Treaty was also discovered among world-class examples, exhibiting one of the most outstanding sovereign credibility. That prestigious global acknowledgement of the highest humanitarian court of the international world community bears three organic fruit. 1. Perpetuation of historic sovereign treaty. 2. United Nations certification of Jamaica's indigenous peoples status, with mandate to commence new indigenous peoples sovereign states from St. Thomas in the east to Negril Point. 3. End of British colonial monarchical rule. The United Nations mandate for Maroon to commence their creation of new indigenous people-free sovereign state was supported by the unspoken reality of the two monumental Maroon land lease made to King George II of England, France and Ireland, by our sovereign lord Eligimo Kojo in the late 1700s had become to a perpetual end.